Hey, Bridge fans, welcome to this beautiful edition. You've not seen anything like this. My name is Dexter, your host on the Dexter's Bridge Show. I like my gender. Yes, for many reasons. But you see, what appears to be the strength of a male gender is also their most critical weakness, machismo. A man wants to suck it in and put up this facade, I'll call it, of strength and infallibility. But you see, a man's strength is also where his highest weakness lies, not being able to show weakness. Over the weeks, we've had women come on this show and tell their tales of how they got heartbroken either in marriage or before marriage and how they were able to put it all together. And you keep asking yourself, is it only the men that hurt the women? But you see, men don't like talking about hurt, especially emotional hurt, because it makes them feel weak. But I have a guest today who has been through so much pain. A man who has gone through pain at the hands of the other gender. I don't want to call names. It's not funny. When we're going, you understand. So Dr. Kingsley Akbutu has been through the worst you can know. I mean, dated a lady for over 8 years, supported her the way a lover would support, and just less than 2 weeks of marriage, she traveled under some unexplainable circumstances, and that was it. We've heard news of her being remarried and all the other things, but it left our man shattered. So he's director of CWES, that is the Student Industrial Work Experience Scheme, and also the program coordinator for computer science. Bridge Farms, please help me welcome Dr. Kingsley Akbutu.
Thank you so much, Mr. Dexter, for having me today.
And you see,
Thank you, everyone.
The interesting thing is that when I got to hear about your story, one of my producers, who happens to be my wife, actually encountered him the most unlikely circumstances. And because we are out there hunting for stories, interesting stories.
Right.
So when they told me about your experience, I said I must have him on the show. And I'm very excited that you are here and encouraged that you are willing to tell your story.
It's my pleasure too. I have always learned to, I have learned to speak out always, and it's my pleasure to speak out so that others there will get encouraged too by my story.
Very beautiful. Yeah. I mean, what's your background? A young man being in love and all this stuff.
Well, first of all, background in terms of origin. I'm from Benue State, and I was married, but now I can say I'm divorced.
Okay.
So no kid. So that's it.
So, I mean, how did you meet this young lady?
Well, that was then abroad, and I went for studies overseas, and extensive studies that lasted for, I think, around 9 years.
9 years.
Yeah.
In which country exactly?
Malaysia.
Okay, you're studying in Malaysia.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. Well, previously I took my master's from University of Nottingham, the UK.
Okay, in England.
And then a PhD with Sunway University, Malaysia.
Okay.
Where we dated for so long time.
Okay, so you met her in Malaysia, you both started dating.
Right,
okay.
right. So she happened to come for studies too, software engineering, and that happens to be my area too. So,
of course, computer scientists.
Yeah. So I saw that we have a lot of compatibility in terms of specialty, and then maybe love. So I fell in love as a lover boy at that time. That's it.
So, I mean, you progressed to...
Yeah, it all started so dramatic. I was asked to see one of the educational counselors there in the university. I happened to be one of a country representative, a student representative for Africa, counseling African students that were admitted into the university there in Malaysia. So I was called by one of the counselors one of these days that I have some students around that I knew to talk to them. And then as a counselor, I happened to meet Dolakbo. Her name is Dolakbo. And so that was how we got talking, took her around the town, took her around scenes and attractions of the town and all that, gave her the basic orientation. And that was how we got talking. And it gradually
and
grew
at that point,
to...
you were just doing your job. You were a good counselor.
Right. Like any other could be.
Of course.
Yeah. So that's it.
So love happened.
Love happened, and at some point the parents will have to, because she just came to the campus and she had no bank account, she had nothing. Most of the costs and expenses were taken by me, from the beginning.
Wait. At this point, you started investing. Okay,
yes.
Prior to falling in love with you,
I was a
nice guy.
prominent car renter in Malaysia, registered till today. I'm known. So that was how we knew. So I was already established, legally, yeah. So took her around, showed her around, tried to make sure that she's protected and not get into wrong hands, and that was how we got so closely. I mean, the family were involved and everybody was involved, so there was nothing like anything was done fishy.
Okay, were you relating with her family even while you were in Malaysia?
Yes, the family has at some point visited me. The dad visited me 4 good times before
in Malaysia?
Yeah, I invited him over. Yeah.
So it means ab initio you were resolute on taking the relationship seriously. Of course, that's how you had to
right.
get family involved.
Exactly. Right from the beginning. As I mentioned to you earlier on, I don't do things that I digress at a point. I'm always a focused human being, anything I do. So right from the beginning, yeah, I had it that I have got somebody to settle. I know there are a lot of hitches along the way. One of it is that she was a Muslim.
Okay.
I had to take this. I had to take all this. Who can sink her? I told myself I wouldn't be judging somebody because of Islamic background. Just because I'm a Christian, I shouldn't discriminate somebody in love because they are coming from it's seriously not our problem, because we happen to come out from families that train us into those religions. So there we are. We went into relationship so deeply at a point we thought pressure. She accepted to change to Christianity during the courtship. The father accepted, the mom accepted, and wedding was done, everything was done, and we came down here for the wedding. I think we came down here for 3 good times. First time was for introduction, the Yoruba way, they are so detailed about weddings and all that.
Beautiful culture.
Yeah, gave a year gap after introduction, came for introduction. The first one was, introduction. The second one was traditional marriage, and then church. So it took 3 years to prepare for all this. So the last one was the church marriage.
All these happening
so
in the
elaborate.
space of 8 years.
So elaborate, yeah.
So after the wedding?
So after the wedding, I recall very well, one of the bone of contentions was that she wouldn't want to take pregnancy back to the States. Then I started asking myself, this was not the agreement. For all the years we have stayed, you have always wanted to stay with me. It was your dream. You made me feel I'm your dream man, And mind you, I never knew her as a U.S. citizen.
Wait. Let's backtrack a little so I can get things in perspective. Yeah, you met her in Malaysia.
Right.
The two of you lived all the while in Malaysia.
Right.
Then you came back to Nigeria to wed.
Yeah.
And now after the wedding, the issue of going back to the U.S. came up.
I think there's a disjoint there in my story. Prior to wedding, we had been fighting for her green card jointly in Malaysia, and she got it shortly before the wedding.
That's American green card?
There in Malaysia.
Okay.
So at some point we discussed with the family, she was to come down to Nigeria. I said, no, you can't come down to Nigeria. You are just done with the study, because that was the last paper. That was the last defense for her software engineering degree. So I said, you have to just leave for state immediately. There in the States, no job. I told them I would take her.
From Malaysia, she went to the U.S.?
Straight. She left me there for Malaysia straight. Why marriage things were still in the pipeline. Yeah. So she went there. I sent money to her every blessed month. I sponsored every blessed month. Before that, mind you, all her studies. I see today, For the record, I still have record of my Western Union transactions to this family and herself. So along the line, I just take it that it's part of the sacrifices one will need to do, one of the sacrifices one will have to do in relationship or marriage. Well, that's by the way. In the States, she came down here for marriage, and we did everything. One thing that made me raise eyebrow was that she refused to take him.
After you got
yes,
married?
I mean pregnancy, she refused.
She refused to get pregnant?
The next day was the argument, but this never came up, you know.
Wait, the day after the wedding?
Yes, the day after the wedding.
Then the argument about
taking in, getting pregnant, she was refusing here and there, came up. She said, no, I can't go to state with pregnancy when you are not there to take care of me. That was how it started. There was no raising of voices, there was no fighting, there was nothing, just argument. Well, I took it to the dad. The dad said, well, if this is your wife's decision, I took it to my family. If this is your wife's decision, allow her be. It's an understanding. You just have to.
Wait, sorry. Let me cut you in.
Right.
Had you ever traveled to the US with her?
No, not with her, but I had a conference in Atlanta, Georgia. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you are.
I'm an academic, and I'm an academic, so I have opportunity to travel anytime I want, anytime. I'm called by conferences.
Okay.
I'm a member of the IEEE, okay, Association of Computing Machinery around the world. That one is another organization that calls me, and then so many of them have partnership. They call me around the world, and they could even sponsor my flight ticket. I don't spend because I'm an academic in this field. So
did people have agreements for her to go back to the US as in to be resident there?
Yes, that was
of course, that's why you got the green card. Yeah.
But initially, I refused. I wanted us to return back to Nigeria, so it became the family thing. The two families had to sit together. The lady wants to settle in the US, the guy doesn't want, because I don't want the American scenario to affect my kids. Right from time, I don't want America. I don't like America.
Okay,
I had the green card approved.
What do you mean you don't like America? You're talking about you didn't want your children to be influenced by the culture.
The negative influence by kids. I don't hate America. I don't hate America. I don't like the culture to influence my kids. And I'm very public about this. I don't hide it. You know, I don't care about anything. I don't hide it. So right from time, I wasn't a Nigerian youth that is so keen about green card, jumping at any opportunity. I wasn't there.
Of course, you had it, so people go for what they need, actually.
Currently, if I just apply for visa to any nation based on my
antecedents,
yes, academically and all that. In fact, America has a special visa for people of my category, special visa, expatriate. So I could go in anytime to France or anywhere, America. So I don't take advantage of all that just because the countries, people were in America, American people develop America to what it is. If I stay in Nigeria and develop Nigeria, I can make people come and, like Nigeria the way they like people like America. So I feel someone was in America.
Made
America what, people sacrifice. It wasn't as it developed, it was looking at Europe at that time. The UK and the rest, isn't it? Yeah. To develop, But now everybody look up to America. What if I stay here with few others to make Nigeria what America it is? Somebody must have to sacrifice for a place to look great. That's my dream. Profound. We discussed this together, mind you. She accepted everything. She was bound to my philosophy. Only after the wedding, everything changed. I saw a different personality. Starting from refusing to take in. Mind you, we had calculated her taking in period, or what to say, heat period, or what, the ovulation, or what the women call, or the biologists call. It was around her cycle. She was on pills.
On contraception?
Yes. Yes. So, well, that's by the way, I got to chew the bitter pill. I accepted it. She told me as soon as I arrived in the US, Kingsley, will you want me to have kids for you after 5 years? I said, why? She says she has approached a laboratory. She used to be a friend with a very close medical practitioner, a lawyer, a doctor by name MM, very close friend of her. you know, that I mean, indoctrinated her in very, very wrong ways, because she's not married, she don't like kids, to the doctor I'm talking about. You know, so she got indoctrinated and refused to have kids too. So this fateful day, she put a call across to me to say she don't want kid either. She wanted 5 years from now. That's the best she could do for me. So it was a matter of negotiation. I'm already into the marriage. There's nothing I can do about it. I can't run out of it. I come from a background that divorce is crime. It's more or less a taboo. Because from my descendant up to what I can recall, to a level I can recall, no one has divorce case. No record about a divorce. So it came to me as a shock, you know. Well, before the divorce, everything was pointing to divorce already, because if I don't accept to the terms, divorce. She was already singing it to my ears.
After she had traveled to the...
Right. You don't accept this, that after 5 years you start having your kids, divorce. I said, but why? This is not the plan. We spend so many times together learning each other, understanding ourselves. A thing of this never came up. You love kids, you showed me you could handle a home. And what is coming up? Is it Amen, your friend, or is it America that you're just arriving few years, just a year plus, then it's changing you? The wife I knew started calling me, you Nigerian, you're so pompous. You want your will to be done and not mine. That here in America, the woman owns the world. I said, wow. So this is not America, I'm in Nigeria, an African at that. Right. So you will have to do the way Nigerians are. Our traditional marriage is according to the African culture, not American culture. So I had to be resolute. She said, Kingsley, if you will not take it from me, then divorce. I said, no problem. If you will not come down to respect the culture of the Nigeria, then no problem. Throw it. She threw the divorce papers to me. I accepted it.
Just
I cried.
like that.
I found myself in the hospital for a month in Lagos. By the way, when this came, I was still with the father, waiting for flight to travel out, to meet her and settle down. So it came like it was not planned. Nothing was planned about this. It just came like that.
This story is getting bizarre. We're back after this short break. Don't go anywhere. Thank you for staying tuned. We've been speaking with Dr. Kingsley Utu, and his story has been, oh God, has been in love with this lady, met abroad and everything going well. They got married and then things just flipped. At this point, speaking divorce. So how did the news of the divorce come to you?
Well, I said it earlier, I was with the family for a long time before COVID-19 was called.
Okay.
You know, the flight time was supposed to be a week before COVID-19.
Okay, you mentioned you were making plans to go meet her in the US.
Right.
And this is why the whole back and forth and conflict was going on.
Because we never had queries, we never, even before the journey was planned, no queries, nothing. That's why the whole thing is questionable. You know, sometimes I just feel that my family and I believe that this marriage scam. This is marriage scam I passed through. You know, nothing short of that, you know. So a week to the travel date, I was in the father's house because the flight was in Murtala International, that's in Lagos.
Yeah, in Lagos,
yeah. So I stayed with the family for some time. Then I heard a call for COVID-19 lockdown. Flight were falling out, cancelled. This was cancelled to, and till further notice, that was Qatar Airways. I mean, the one I booked. You know, so I remained there, hoping that things would get better. You know, so the next week, after COVID-19 was called, the father claimed he had Skype communication or video call with the mom and the daughter. And the daughter voiced out to them that she would prefer to have a divorce. They wanted to know why. The family, the dad and mom themselves could not point to what specific reason.
Reason that she gave.
Yes, I would love somebody up to today to ask her, which my family did. At some point, my father, my old dad, called her on phone, stayed for over 2 hours, close to 2 hours, to know why she's taking divorce as option. What is the reason? What is the subject of the query? She never talked. She never said a word.
She never gave any reason
Till
why
today,
she wanted.
till today. In the law courts, my lawyer, Mr. Amechi, can attest. I think he's on social media too. He will be watching us live. You contact him, he will tell you till today the court papers. It's funny what they wrote there. They said I did verbal abuse to her. Verbal abuse to her. I committed verbal abuse. Verbal abuse. That is why she has divorced out. She's going for a divorce. So you could imagine it's ridiculous. Very ridiculous. Very, very ridiculous. Approaching a law court that your husband gave some verbal abuse, gave you verbal abuse, or verbally abused you, then you want to divorce the marriage. Then you know that there must be something fishy somewhere that is not told. So this is what I went through, and till today, the family keep on telling me the spiritual attack. The father, as you know, Africans are so full of it when it comes to spiritism or religious, commitments. Keep on telling us that the spiritual attack, he's on the mountain, he's the mom's side that attacking the daughter and himself. They want the family to go down and all that. But mind you, this man was not officially married to the wife, to the wife I married, to my wife. They were not legally, the mother was not legally married to the dad. I got to know all this after everything else. So they're not legally married. The father is married to an Igbo woman from Anambra State, whom I met even while waiting for my flight. She was still married to the father. So
and your mother-in-law was in the U.S. with her.
Yes,
with your wife.
And she puts a lot of calls across to me that Kingsley, this is the position our daughter has taken. There's nothing. We kept on pleading to her, myself and the dad, that she should forgive and whatever. But I asked her, forgive what? Ma, has she told you what I have done? I have not gone outside to do extramarital affairs or fornicated outside, or no accusation or infidelity. These are very big issues that marriages break down, isn't it? Nothing of such. Nothing of evil, nothing of spiritual thing from my side, nothing. Verbal abuse? Is there something beyond what no one can tell me? Till today, I'm ready, even on this show, to put a call across to them to tell you on set, what have I done to have a divorce? I'm telling you this to the world, to the whole world to hear, because it will happen to everybody out there. There is marriage scam. And that young lady, everyone out there to be very careful with her. It may happen to me today, but I think it's a pointer to tell the whole world that men too are subject of marital abuses. Men are just, they chew the bitter pill. They hardly come out to speak out. But I prefer to speak out because this part of my healing, forms part of my healing. So I've taken this route to speak out.
I've been trying to wrap my mind around, the logical thing to do would be to ask if you ever saw any sign. But going by the
yes,
story,
I did.
Okay.
I did. And a lot of signs. But the question I ask myself is that should we, because of signs, break from one relationship we have built for over time from one to another? I don't think so. I'm a believer of this philosophy. I forgive a lot. And I believe every human being I happen to make a relationship with has a lot of fault as well as the same way I have.
Your own faults too.
Yeah, I'm human. I'm not perfect either. So why do I expect perfection from someone else? Even from the same family, within my own family, my immediate family, there are issues. So you should expect issues from somebody who left their families to come clip to you as husband and wife, you know. So that's my philosophy have, you know. Over time, I believe in this philosophy. So I saw a lot of signs. One of this was this, she publicly being abused in a birthday party organized then in Malaysia. A friend of her, a classmate, sexed her in a birthday party publicly. She is watching me live. She can come out to deny this if she has the guts. She was publicly abused. Is a mistake that not every man, out of 100, not every man will forgive. I forgave her. She was publicly abused. I mean, sex in a birthday party. This was few months to our wedding. I forgave her. These are pains that no man, I don't think any man sensible, I'm not saying I'm not sensible anyway. In my own right, I think I'm sensible enough to have forgiven because I'm human too. So I forgave her. We went ahead to prepare for marriage. So that's a sign. Another sign was that on the eve of our introduction, publicly, the father fought with her and she got naked publicly. Before the guests, my parents were there. The guests I invited from Benue State and around the world, my friends came for the wedding. Publicly, her clothes got torn. It was a shame, a dent on my family. I went ahead with marriage. Another thing was that shortly before marriage, she chose to go back to Islam. The same Islam she professed, even though I never put her on pressure to leave Islam. But remember that we are heading to marriage. It has to be one religion that will unite you. Exactly. You know, she went back to her Islamic ways. I chewed this bitter pill as well. And so many others. So what else could I have not seen as a sign? I've seen this. I've seen these serious signs. But should I say that science should prevent us from forgiving people or going on to settle with marriages or foundation we have built for marriages we want to fix or to put in place? I don't think so. I don't believe with that philosophy. My philosophy is to forgive.
Yeah, Dr. Kingsley, let me cut you short. You know, I am a pastor.
Right.
I preach forgiveness. As a matter of fact, I preach unconditional forgiveness. But you see, when you are getting into a lifelong relationship or any very significant relationship, there's things we call deal breakers. Because you can't know anybody entirely. To a large extent, our knowledge is a form of permutation. So you want to look out for signs.
Right.
What we call deal breakers. Yes, we're all imperfect. But the difference between a character flaw and a deal-breaking character flaw. I mean, you can ask yourself, what is it that a man or a woman would do and I would call off the relationship? Or even marriage, what is it that this person would do and I want to call off the marriage? So as much as we will forgive, yes, even in front or even in the presence of those deal-breaking character flaws, you can still forgive the person. Right. I say you can forgive somebody but not continue relating with them. You can forgive them, hold nothing against them, but you can break fellowship with them. Yes, you can forgive a boyfriend or a girlfriend who has done you wrong, but say, okay, I forgive you, but I cannot continue with this relationship. Because what I do is that I want to extrapolate or escalate, because people don't change.
Right.
People don't change, negatively or positively. Now, this is not like a blanket statement. Change can happen. We hope and believe it happens. But people hardly change. What happens is that what I tell myself is, if this person does this, in marriage, this would get worse. So, if, for example, a man slaps you once or twice before you get married, my ideology or philosophy is that in marriage it will degenerate to something very serious. So I'll tell people, if you're dating a man and he slaps you once, break the relationship. Forgive them. Hold no grudge against them. But break the relationship, because if they don't respect you enough to not hit you before marriage, when you now become their property, in quotes, it means no respect to be given to you. So if a woman doesn't respect you enough to stay sexually faithful to you before marriage, when you get married, things would fall out of hand. So
Right.
I believe in observing deal-breaking red flags,
Right.
and deciding.
Right.
That this is not in any way to blame you, but we're
Right.
trying to look back in retrospect. To
Right.
look in retrospect.
For me, I can take the blame. I have occupied position of leadership in my own little, ways. So I have grown to a level that I accept responsibilities, and these are big responsibilities. Over time, I have learned to accept, because I made the decision. Nobody's put me into marriage. Nobody pushed me into marriage. So
It was your
I take
decision.
the responsibility. But see, one thing I want to note is this. Oh yeah, one should forgive, seeing these signals, these red flags,
Yeah, red flags.
so to call, in quote. But you see, what happened was that there were also things you could rationalize.
Yeah.
Coming to see this personality initially wasn't a bad lady.
person.
It's not a bad girl. It's a good girl. Till today, I can say it's a good girl. Now, from onset, the antecedent. You study the antecedent. I met this lady. She knew no man. Surprising to you, right? She was a virgin.
It's actually confusing, not just surprising.
She was a virgin. Yeah. I met her a virgin. I took her virginity. I'm telling you the balancing. I like balancing things, to be rational. I'm a rational human being.
Yes. I understand.
I'm not coming on set to say I met a devil. But there are pointers to why I forgive too. I'm heading towards something.
Yeah.
Why did I forgive seeing this man? There are certain times you forgive people because of what they have done to, what they have been to. You met a lady that's a virgin. You disvirgin her, yes. Then she went to a club and got raped or slept with publicly after taking some alcoholic drink.
Okay.
She doesn't drink. She didn't drink. When I met her, she was never a drunkard or a drunkardite. So what does that come to your mind? It's a lady you met, pure, then took to some way of life that you don't do. I don't club. I don't do all this. So I can't fix or I can't join or join the point, the dots where all this came in, Or maybe could it be a family issue? Family foundation. So certain problems are from family foundation. Sure. They come up
Later
with time. Yes, with time. So now, you could see that from that background, meeting such a young lady, having to see that she made this mistake. If you were in my shoe and you are rational as I am, you will forgive.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I understand.
Yeah.
I mean, now.
So I was determined to forgive anything. And I told her, I can forgive anything. Till today, she knows me. I can forgive anything. If you will respect our marriage. If you don't do things, if anything you do wrong to me is beyond your control, you are human, I can forgive you. The day she asked me for forgiveness, my friend Solomon Zili, she's from Bayelsa State. Some of the amnesty people that the federal government at that time sponsored to study overseas, was a very close friend of mine. He was there when she went on her knees and apologized. Right there, I say, I've forgiven you. She was shocked. This haunted her for a long time. She felt I will withdraw my 100% trust and my commitment to her, but I never did that. I continue even better. So that's the story. So there were certain antecedents. I judged her worthy of forgiveness. Not as if I look at red flags and ignore. I look at them, but I say, well, from here she's good. Add and delete, you know, that's it. So as a rational being that I am, when you judge from all these angles, you know that you're complete. Yes, yes, yes. I'm not a one-way
thinker.
Yeah. No, I'm not. I'm not.
Yeah.
Not.
Okay. Of course, you are putting things in perspective when you are saying that Dr. Kingsley is a good man. Is a good man. And now we're asking these questions. Could it be influences from the lady's past? Could it be what we call sheer character mutation? Was he a victim of his own loyalty or compassion? I mean, questions that we can't answer entirely, but sometimes life just happens. Actually, Dr. Kingsley, I mean, how did this affect your psyche, your health? How did you start your journey towards healing? How did this affect you?
Oh, Mr. Dexter, if honestly, if I tell you I'm healed now, I may be lying to you. Yes, I may be lying to you as a human. I am somebody that was never coming up to plan a marriage that will crash any day.
Nobody does.
Yes.
Nobody does.
So I viewed my future to my end on earth with her, with one woman. So from coming from that background, you will know that I'm not healed yet until I get healed. I'm not saying I'm not going to be healed, but until I get healed. Don't forget, shortly when this happened, as the very day I heard this news, I broke down. I found myself in the hospital.
Whoa.
Yes. Which lasted, I stayed in the hospital for a month plus, close to 2 months. As I talk to you now, I struggle with high blood pressure. Almost at a point I even went hypertensive. At less than 40 years. So you'll be surprised. I exercise. I live a healthy lifestyle, good meals. I keep my diet clean. I mean, these are the basic things that will give you good health. And then you still struggle with high blood pressure. So you see that this is not unconnected with what I went through yes. for the first time. So psychologically, yes, I'm affected. I'm still affected. Well, I will not rule out the fact that I'm gradually going through a healing process. I have met a psychologist.
Okay, we're just about asking you to see a therapist.
Yes, I've met a therapist. We've been discussing and all that. But you know that no one could steer that healing in you more than yourself. So no one else, not even a therapist, could take you to that level of healing you deserve.
It has to be an internal thing.
Right. Right, so this is the position I am now. I need an internal healing. So gradually, I'm not somebody that's so religious because I believe in God. I'm so committed. I pray. I'm a Christian, yeah. But I'm not, it's not everything I say by God's grace, the way Africans believe. I just believe certain things will leave God aside and do it. So I believe this is about me. And I need to find healing myself. Yes. Not prayers.
Do you know about the Holy Spirit?
Yes, I believe in the Holy Spirit. Don't forget, I'm a Pentecostal. I got baptized, by the Holy Spirit by immersion way back in 1997. So, I believe in the Holy Spirit. But one thing I don't do is when I'm out there, I don't let religion to affect my sense of decision making. I try to add and delete, strike the balance. So that if I'm out there relating with anybody out there, whether Christian or non-Muslim or non-Christian, Muslim or non-Muslim, a traditionalist, an atheist, it will still not affect my decision making. So that's me.
Mr. Kingsley, I like your ideology. I respect your thinking and your mindsets. Incidentally, we have an incomplete or an unwholesome ideology of religion, as it were. Yes, I've heard many people say that Christianity is not a religion. I don't agree with them. Because the Bible talks about pure religion. It means there is pure religion, there is impure religion. So Christianity is a religion, and there is a way to go about religion in a pure way. So to not be dogmatic or to be legalistic or that is a different thing altogether. Then in our Christian walk, there is a place of the Holy Spirit. It doesn't suspend the human acumen. It doesn't suspend our intelligence, but it embellishes and takes it to a superhuman level. He is called the Spirit of Counsel. He's called the Comforter. And we will not need comfort if life doesn't take us through situations where we are hit below the belt, like you have found yourself. And I believe strongly in the place of the Holy Spirit to bring healing, to bring counsel, and to bring comfort. And I pray that in your interactions that you get to have that encounter. I pray so, and I believe well that alongside psychotherapy, the Holy Spirit will do a permanent work where you come to a place of healing. Because I'm about to ask you if you have found love. But before then, since after the divorce process, have you been in touch with now this your ex-wife? I mean, have you? She
calls. I don't call. She calls every now and then. And then I ask, saying, I really don't want to have contact with her again, and have told her several times she calls. You know, the last time she calls was last week.
Wait, I'm actually, you know, this story keeps having this, you know,
she calls every now and then. That's just it. But I don't want her to continue calling me. You see, her number is not even saved in my phone.
Why is
so that I don't see her anywhere on WhatsApp or anywhere, because I feel like wound. Each time I hear her voice, like wound.
When she calls, what does she talk about?
She talks, I should forgive her. The last call was forgiveness. She's always emphasizing on forgiveness. That Kingsley, if you really love me, you want my happiness. If you were the one that took this decision, I will pray for you and I will wish you well. But why are you not letting it go? That she perceives in her that I'm bitter about it up till now, that I can't forgive her. That if I really believe that she will one day be back with me, I should forgive her. Then that strike a balance that strike a balance with the mom. The mom said same thing the day she broke the news to me with the dad, that if I love my wife, she has situation in the US that ladies will depart with part ways with their spouses and return back after 5 years. The mom is watching us. I'm sure she's watching us somewhere, somehow. She will attest to what I'm saying. She told me, if you love her, if she comes back after 5 years, you should be ready to take her. I said, wow. I said, ma, excuse me. If I were your son and a lady just woke up one day, who is my wife, legally married, declaring divorce with divorce papers in the court of law, tarnishing your image in the court that you verbally abused for no good reason, at that, will you accept that I waste my 5 years
and wait for
her only for her to return and take her position as my wife? Will you pray and bless such a daughter-in-law?
Guys, I don't know what to say. I'm blown away totally. I can't even pass a judgment call at this point. This is hard. This is very hard. It doesn't make sense, but I'll still ask it anyway. Have you ever had any attempt at love again? I mean, relating with anybody? Do you see yourself getting married again?
Oh, marriage. Well, I can't make a definite conclusion now. I can't give a definite answer now, but I still believe that it does exist, but I wouldn't push myself on it again. And I have the fantasy, I've lost it. Yes, I've lost the fanfare, you know, and I don't feel it's, for me, I don't know for any other person, I wouldn't put myself on it anyhow again. I don't think so. The kind of fanfare, the kind of obsession, the kind of
attraction that people have towards marriage,
to it myself, and then I don't think I will attach that to it again. Yeah. That says one listening to me will feel that I'm not so reasonable about my statement. I shouldn't take, oftentimes I've had ladies that I interacted with that felt something should happen. They were like, you can't take the position of someone else or behavior towards you to be your judgment of the whole woman folk. I say, yeah, that's okay, but I still have reservation, I have my reservation about every woman I meet now. That does not mean that I won't be on my guards. I should be on my guards as much as possible, because you never can tell. Some persons will come to take advantage of that position you are in. A lot of people hearing my stories come after me. In the university I work, everywhere I have to have interaction with young ladies that I didn't show interest to them. They kept asking me, Dr. Kingsley, why is it that it baffles them. I don't give advances at ladies, even at workplace, anywhere, What's wrong with you? Is it that you are inactive? I say, no. If you study my family generation, we are very active. We are active at 90. My grandparents, we marry at 80 something. We're still marrying in those days of, polygamy. Yeah. So, and they were still active. So health-wise, I'm fit. Yeah. I'm a man that exercises, and you know what that means. Yeah. So you can't, you just rule out that. It's not that. It's all about the affection. I've lost it. So yeah, I'm not ruling out the fact it will take a genuine woman for me to give this back. Yeah. So that it doesn't look like I'm using the sins of others
to judge every other person.
Yeah, it will be unfair. So I'm a rational personality. I will still give it a thought. Yeah. But I will be so detailed. I will be so attentive to detail.
Very careful.
Yeah.
And Dr. Kingsley has not closed the door entirely. Said there's a woman out there who would still be able to sweep him off his feet. And we pray that you go through the healing process, and because if you don't heal entirely, you'll be a flawed person, and definitely you'll carry a baggage from your injury.
Right.
And it would also impact negatively on any other relationship that you choose to go into, or marriage eventually. But at this point, I'd like to ask for a word of advice. But it will be a thin line between being very careful or being skeptical. So do you think there will be a balance between being careful and being skeptical? If you want to advise young men out there, given what you've gone through, where would they draw the line between being careful or being paranoid or being skeptical?
Well, I feel, people out there, young men or people in my position or whatever should be, should I say careful? If I say careful, I will be making somebody so skeptical, too skeptical to make opinion decisions. If I say paranoid, I will be putting somebody in a very difficult situation. Yeah, so I wouldn't go for any of this. I just ask people to be rational, in your decision making. You see a woman you love out there, I think, have your values in place. Just make sure they fit those values. We have African values. There are people who value this, who expect these African values not to be compromised. I am one of these. So a situation where these values are compromised in your relationship and the person in question or your partner is also from this background, I mean the African background, then there are red flags already. So I may not be in the best position to tell you what decision you take, but judgment will be very eminent, you know. Your guess is as best as mine, yeah, in such situation. Because there ought to be a balance, cultural balances and all what have you. We have values that we keep detailed attention to, so those values should not be compromised. That's just my advice.
Whoa. You've heard it. That's been a very, very nerve-chilling session and story you heard from Dr. Kingsley. This is his story. This is his reality. And he has tried his best to maintain the anonymity of the lady in question, and it's not intention to defame anybody. This is his story he has told. And we all pray that Dr. Kingsley finds healing, finds normality, and finds love. Dr. Kingsley, thank you very much for being on the show.
Having me.
Thank you for being
so
open.
Grateful, yeah.
And I'd like to advise men out there, number one, there's nothing weak in a man owning up to failure, to brokenness, and seeking help.
Right.
Number one.
Right.
This whole machismo that men want to put it all together and be invincible is not masculine to be invincible. Men can break, men can crack, and men can seek help. Right. Till we come your way next time, this is Dexter's Bridge Show. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel right now. Do it now. Click that subscribe button. Then enable notifications so you see when new contents drop. Then follow us on all our platforms. If you have a story of pain, of brokenness, and finding hope, please do well to reach out to us on all the channels made available, and we'll be excited to have you on this show. So we're open to supports, to collaborations, to donations, to partnerships, to enable us take this very noble activity to greater reach. Thank you very much, and see you on the next episode.